Hi everyone, Stephanie with Mama Bear Ink. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to be making a card using one of my favorite stamp sets from the Occasions catalog, Dragonfly Dreams. And we're also going to be using one of the dies from the Detailed Dragonfly Thinlet set. And we're going to be using this one here that cuts a line of dragonflies. And that is going to be front and center on our beautiful card. Now, this is a card that I saw on Pinterest. And this was done by stampinbj.com. And I think that's another Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. And so this was made from crumb cake, which is the card base, and sweet sugar plum, which is one of our new ink colors. Is it a new one? Yes, it's a new one. It's a new ink color for this past year. I know what I'm talking about. Hang on. So let's go ahead. We're going to be using a few stamps out of the set, mainly this dots here and a couple of the sentiments. So let's go ahead and get started putting this card together. So we are going to be making a top fold card today. And, ooh, you don't just, those are my notes. Look, arrange the magic. Okay, so we are going to be using a half sheet of cardstock to make our card base. But in this case, we have cut it on the long side. So instead of cutting it in half on the short side and folding it over to make a side folding card, we've cut it in half on the long side. So this is 11 by 4 1/4, okay? And then we've scored it at 5 1/2. And when we fold this over, it's going to give us a top folding card, all right? And then we have a layer of our sweet sugar plum, and that is cut 5 1/4 by 4 inches. And we've, of course, cut our little dragonflies from sweet sugar plum using our Big Shot die cutting machine. And we have a couple of layers of Whisper White. Now, the smaller Whisper White layer is cut 5 1/8 by 3 7/8 inches, and I will have all these measurements on my blog. And that's going to be matted on the front. And then we have an inside layer at 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So that's going to go on the inside of our card. So let's get started with our stamping, and this is pretty simple, actually. We're going to be using our dots first, of course, and we're going to start with some sweet sugar plum ink, okay? So let's get this open, and basically what we're going to do is create a background for our little dragonflies to fly over. And so I just did this kind of randomly, kind of at the top of the card here, sort of, I don't know, I didn't worry too much about overlapping them or anything like that. I just sort of stamped them. There we go. Let's bring it down a little further. There we go. All right. And now we are going to do some stamping in crumb cake as well, which means we have to clean our stamp because we don't want to put sweet sugar plum ink in our crumb cake ink. So this is our Stampin' Scrubber. Ooh, I'm a little close for you to see that. So it looks like this when it's closed up. Then you open it up, and it's got 2 black pads. And one is a wet side, and one is a dry side. And then you have your Stampin' Mist, which you can purchase in my online store. And we're just going to give the wet side a couple of spritzes with the Stampin' Mist. And we're going to clean our stamp like that. And then we're going to dry our stamp like that on that side. And then it's perfectly clean and ready to use on the next ink color. So let's get that out of the way. Bring our paper back in. Excuse me. And get our crumb cake ink open. And get that inked up. And we're just going to do one like that and one like that. There we go. There's our crumb cake. So the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to stamp our sentiment in crumb cake as well. And that's going to be at the bottom of the card. And what I'm using is "To a Wonderful Friend." And so I've just lined that up on the block using my grid paper before the video, so you don't have to watch me do that. So now we're just going to put it down here at the bottom and get it as straight as we can. There we go. So we've got our sentiment on there. Now let's go ahead and put together these layers. So we're going to layer this stamped piece on top of our sweet sugar plum layer. And we're just going to do that using some snail adhesive. And this, I only left about 1/8 of an inch border. So we need to be careful when we line this up because it is quite a bit smaller. So we're just going to do it just like that. Okay, and next let's stamp the inside piece of the card before we start putting together the outside. Now on my sample, you can see here that I just used those crumb cake dots again and another portion of the sentiment. And I did the sentiment in sweet sugar plum this time. So we'll bring back our crumb cake ink and our dots, which are already crumb cakey. Is that a word? It is now. And we're just going to kind of stamp along the bottom of our page here. And so those are our dots. It's that easy. That easy. And where is my sweet sugar plum? Here it is. And we're going to get the other half of our sentiment and ink that up. And then I'm just going to line my paper up on the grid paper so I know my paper's straight. And then I can try to get my sentiment as straight as I can and stamp that down. Okay, and here is our crumb cake card base, and I just folded that, so I'm going to burnish it with my bone folder right quick just to give it a good crisp finish. And we'll go ahead and put the inside of our card in. Okay, no worries, it's on the inside and going to be under the inside panel. Okay. And we'll center this up. Now this is going to have our regular 1/4 inch border that we usually do. All right, so there is the inside of our card. And we'll take our mounted front panel here that we just put together, get some snail on the back of it. And then this will also have a 1/4 inch border on the crumb cake. So we'll put it together like that. Now we are going to take our little dragonflies, and I wanted to put just a teeny little bit of dimension on my dragonflies. So I'm going to use glue dots, but I am going to use my piercing tool to kind of fold my glue dots in half. I don't know how easy that is to see, but I've kind of folded that little glue dot in half, and I'm just going to put one on the back of each of their little thoraxes here. I guess that's the word. It's a bug. I'm more of a dog person. So just going to kind of lift them up a little bit. It's not going to be a huge dimension like a Stampin' Dimensional or anything like that. Just a little bit of dimension that lifts them kind of away from the front of the card. Oh, one more. I missed one. All right, we'll fold that in half and put that last one on there. Okay, so now we have kind of a, oh, for crying out loud. Okay, so we have a folded little glue dot on the back of each of their little bodies. And we're just going to lay them down across our stamped portion, just like that, just because they're kind of flying off. And what I did on the sample was I coated, and you can't really see it on camera all that well, but I coated the dragonflies in Wink of Stella. Now Wink of Stella, beg your pardon, I had it on the other table. Oh shoot, I hit the camera too. Good gracious, I'm just not doing it very well tonight. Okay, so Wink of Stella is available in our annual catalog, and this is the clear pen. And basically what you do is you just color over where you want it to look glittery and sparkly. And so this basically lays down glitter on whatever it is that you're coloring. And so I just did that with each of the dragonflies going down the page. And again, it's hard to see on camera, but in real life, it's just so pretty. Okay, and then last but not least, we're going to take some basic pearls. And I had to open a new pack because I love the teeny weeny weeny ones. And I can never open these things. Okay, there we go. I love these teeny, teeny, teeny ones at the top. And so I just use my piercing tool to pick up each teeny little pearl, and I put one kind of right in the center of each of the dragonflies on the card. Just for another little detail, because you'd be surprised. It's not that big, and it doesn't look like it makes a huge difference when you're putting it together. But those little details are what people really appreciate about our handmade cards and about receiving a handmade card. So we're going to place our last little pearl there, and that is going to finish up our card. So we have our dragonflies flying across the page to a wonderful friend, and on the inside, enjoy your special day. Thank you very much for coming and spending time with me today. I've really enjoyed spending time with you, and I look forward to doing so again soon. Take care.